Let's identify the accessories that come with the Husqvarna Viking Amber S100 serger. Now we're doing nice, short, sweet videos on every page of the manual of this machine, and if you want to binge watch them from the beginning, there's a link below in the description where you can start from the beginning and learn everything from start to end. So accessories that come with the serger, there's usually just some basic items that I want to point out, plus there's a few accessories hidden right here in the front of the door. Now before I get into the bag, one thing that comes with the serger, and it's probably already on the serger, is actually a seam guide. So this is actually something you can pull out or slide in. So this will help you guide your fabric so it cuts off just a little bit and then seams your construction seam right where you need it to be. So if you know you need to have like a 5/8 seam allowance or something in between, you can put that on and keep that in place. Now do keep in mind that sometimes I like to actually pull this off when I'm not using it. So for today I am going to just set it aside, but it is kind of nice to have and kind of help you know where to guide your fabric so it stays nice and even. There are 4 spool kind of cone holders that are in here, and let me show you how these actually go on. So they're designed so your spools don't wiggle around as much. So they have kind of a taller end. You can kind of set that down on the spindle back here, and then as you kind of slide the cone on, can you see how it's not as wiggly? And truly, when a serger starts running, I do usually surge full speed ahead. So those start to vibrate, and anything we can do to just kind of keep them where they're supposed to be is great. So once I put these in there, if you ever lose one, just, well, it's probably in there, so just check all your cones and see if one kind of got stuck up through the middle. So we'll do that. Another thing to kind of stabilize your cones are these kind of clear discs. They can also sit down underneath. Some of the cones are bigger base, so that might not be a bad idea. Sometimes though, speaking of cones, we don't have the right color in a ginormous spool. So you can take smaller spools and put them on. So at this point, you might take one of the spool caps that came with it to hold it in place, because as that spool gets used up, it still has to jump over this little lip of the top of the thread spool itself. So this will kind of hold it on and keep it from like jumping off the back. So yes, kind of keep in mind, I'm going to show you when and where to use a smaller spool. You can actually use them on the needles, by the way. So speaking of needles, let's look at the pack of needles that come with this. Now the size and type of needle that says on this package is that it is an overlock needle, and it is an ELX705. So that is the best needle to use in this machine, but I will tell you, you can actually use the same needles from your sewing machine in this serger. So do keep that in mind. If you're looking for a denim needle, you can reach over to the denim needles you have for your sewing machine and put them in. They are nearly identical, but if you're having any troubles, you will probably need to switch back to the EL705, and that is the ideal needle for you. But I have been known to, because how many needles do you have over at your sewing machine? I know, right? You will probably have what you need over there, and you can use them in this part. I am also, speaking of needles, I am going to be showing throughout these videos the handheld needle threader that I absolutely love. Since there's 2 needles and I have it, I'm going to use it because it's so much easier, but I will show you. This is optional, and it is something that you can find in the links below. I highly just recommend it. It's also a great little guy to have for your sewing machine. So if your sewing machine has a needle threader on it and you sometimes run into where it doesn't line up and it's no longer working, before you have to take it in to have it fixed, you can have a few of these. I like one at my serger and one at my sewing machine, just in case, and it will help you just thread the needle super easy. So I'll show you specifically how that works. This is optional. It does not come with the machine, but it is quite handy to have close by. When we have spools on occasion that might want to like puddle, like the thread itself just kind of drops down and gets tangled around the base, that is what thread nets are for. So you open these little thread nets, and it's kind of like a gentle sock for the spool. You can slide it over the top. The thread still comes out, but it prevents it from kind of falling off the spool. Honestly, if you use good quality thread, which we will talk about also throughout these videos, you're probably not going to run into that. But if you are using something slippery in this style or rayon or such that you're having that trouble, that's what these are for. These are also really tall. I have been known to cut them in half for my smaller spools. You just need a little bit of love around it. You don't always need the whole one. And they give you they give you 4 of them. So, honestly, most of these just stay nice and tucked in my accessory bag when I'm not using them. I don't use them a lot, but boy, if you ever need to. Oh, metallic thread is another thing that it does work best if you kind of put a little sock over the top of it. Tweezers. Tweezers are your friend. They're like little extensions of your fingers. So I'm actually going to just pull these out right now and we can get into having those close by. There is an extra knife. The knife in here is something that eventually you are going to dull, and here's your backup. So it's super easy to give you a little wrench, cute little wrench. When you open this up, there's a place to substitute it out. What makes a knife dull is when you serge on and cut through man-made fiber. So if you do a lot of fleece or a lot of polyester, this is going to get dull faster, just like your scissors or rotary cutter blades. Those dull faster on those types of fabrics. If you're working on a lot of cotton fabrics, natural fibers, this is going to last you a long time. Your knives are going to last, so it's not like you're going to need like 4 of these in a month. So super nice that they give you a spare. That's how we change them out. We've got a larger screwdriver. That's to take and remove the screws from the throat plate so we can clean underneath here. We'll do a video on how to clean. And then let's just kind of peek back inside. The small screwdriver is something I'm always reaching for, so I love that there's a little place right here. You use that to remove the left or right needle. Those screws are smaller, so that's your smaller screwdriver and can click back in there. Usually if there's a place, then I put it back and I don't lose it. Speaking of cleaning, a little brush, you're always going to be kind of in here brushing and cleaning things out. The last thing I'm going to reference is there is what is called a stitch finger. There's a smaller one in here. When we do a rolled hem, there is a way that we switch them out and also or completely remove them. And then the other thing that's down in this little box area is our 2-thread converter. And I know it's kind of in there so it doesn't come out, but this small little tiny piece is what will make the serger do a 2-thread rolled hem, a 2-thread flat lock. So when we get to those videos, I'll show you how to attach that, and it goes right on top of the upper looper. But it lives down here, so once again, it's something that doesn't roam around and then get separated from your serger. It has its own little home. I think we're ready to, as we've gone through all the accessories, get into threading this serger. I'll show you all the tricks that I know of for making threading so much simpler than the way we used to do it.